think all of us recognize, but I think it's so interesting. I mean, both the challenge of celebration and joy, and also the challenge of solitude and of slowing down. And I think for every one of us, we can think about, he has named in his own life some of these things in a way that can become really for his family even a way of speaking about these things that's kind of enjoyable and fun and an easy reminder, just kind of a personal language, a D-da day, morphing time. I mean, just think about that. I mean, ways and about slowing down. So I was just going to mention my father, when he was 70 years old, fell off the roof of his house and broke his back, and it was a terrible thing because he had pain the rest of his life, severe pain from his back. But I remember when I went to see him after this happened, and one of the things that happened was that he started reading for the first time in his life. Because he was lying down for a very long time. For months he was in his bed. And his arms became so strong because he was on his back and holding these books up and reading. And I looked at my dad and I saw these big arms. And it was from holding these books up. And I went and I said, Dad, I was checking on him, and I hadn't seen him for some time, and he said to me, well, I've had a long time to think about this. It had been a couple of months. And he said, I was just in too much of a hurry. So that was kind of an interesting word. I'll never forget, right? I mean, just too much of a hurry. And it's something that I struggle with in my own life. And I think that one of the interesting things is that it's related to something, not just as a criticism of oneself, that's a kind of a throwaway, but to what does it mean to make space for God? And how does hurry keep us from seeing things? And then celebration. What a wonderful compliment, really, to thinking about making space. But slowing down is about making space and celebration, reflection of the joy that is a part of God. And so we connect celebration as a theme that is a part of the character of heaven. And if you think about the parables that Jesus told about heaven and the images that are used, it's often a celebration. It's about a banquet. It's about something that's just absolutely wonderful, that is shared and enjoyable. I was with a friend of mine who was a pastor in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we got on an airplane. He had never flown before, and he was in his mid or late 60s, and he'd never been in an airplane before. And so I was so interested in what his reaction would be. He was an African-American pastor in a small church in Tulsa, and we got on this plane, and we took off, and he looked out the window, and he said, how wonderful God is, that he gave human beings the capacity to build such incredible things. Now, I thought that was so interesting, that actually for him, the way in which he saw something, ultimately all reflected back on God. And so we have this theme of joy. And that beautiful quote from C.S. Lewis, the serious business of heaven is joy. I think many of us grew up with a picture that the serious business of heaven is to make you feel guilty. And so this really is contrary to the way in which many times we think about religious faith. And I think that's part of its power, and I also think it's a strong and important reflection of the character of Christian faith. For those of us who are grandparents, we're grandparents in waiting, because we have children here this evening, with their children all around. We can all be grandparents. But I think that one of the privileges is to ensure that celebrations happen. All right, so now think to our small groups, right?